Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a seriously captivating and honestly pretty cosmic piece of writing called Zena, the Astronaut of My Heart. If you've ever had a crush so massive that the rest of the world just sort of disappeared, well, you are going to relate to this one. We're going to unpack the layers of this fascinating poem, exploring how it uses the vastness of outer space and even the concept of time travel to illustrate a completely all-consuming devotion.
So let's just jump right in with the opening lines. Right out of the gate, we are hooked into the mind of a narrator who is, frankly, hopelessly and entirely consumed by love. Your name in my heart, I got your image. I mean, it's simple, sure, but it hits hard. There's no scene setting, no slow buildup. Boom. We are instantly dropped into the state of profound, absolute infatuation, where the image of the beloved is permanently etched into the narrator's brain. Let's unpack this cosmic love story and see how it reaches way beyond the stars.
On the surface, we're looking at a very literal, yet totally out-of-this-world romance. The narrator hits us early on with this desperate longing to escape reality. Just look at this plea, "Please take me to heavens far from planet Earth." Right? This isn't just someone wanting a vacation. This is a massive yearning to transcend everyday earthly existence. The love they feel is so huge that Earth itself literally feels too small, too grounding. They want to be elevated to the heavens just to match the sheer magnitude of their feelings.
And we quickly find out exactly why they're staring up at the sky. The object of all this intense affection is Zena. The text actually names her and gives her this incredibly specific, superhero-like title, the Astronaut of America, flying in a rocket with the flag. So Zena isn't just the girl next door, she is physically defying gravity, representing a whole nation and soaring through the stars. Talk about putting someone on a pedestal. She is an idealized, heroic figure placed literally as high as you can go. Which sets up the ultimate dilemma of this whole text. I mean, with Zena literally flying in a rocket out in the cosmos, how does our narrator connect with someone so physically unreachable? Seriously, how do you maintain a relationship or even just a tiny spark of intimacy when your crush is separated from you by the Earth's atmosphere? This brings us to the great contrast of the poem, the earthly grounding versus those celestial dreams. To really get this connection, you have to look at the stark juxtaposition being built here. On one side, you have our narrator down on Earth, quietly recording their songs, finding their tune, praying for peace. It's very grounded, introspective, personal. And then, completely contrasting that, you have Zena. She's flying in a rocket with the flag, performing these technological feats out in the perilous unknown. It's this brilliant, dramatic contrast between the intimate inner world of the artist and the massive, expansive outer world of the astronaut. But check this out. Despite this massive physical and experiential gulf, the narrator builds a bridge through pure, unadulterated devotion. They boldly declare, "Your dreams are my dreams. Your dreams are my dreams." They don't actually need a seat on that rocket to share in her journey. By completely aligning their very soul with hers, all that physical distance just evaporates. It's like they're saying, hey, our bodies are worlds apart, but our souls, we're on the exact same wavelength. And that naturally leads us into the spiritual atmosphere of the text, where love transforms into pure devotion. What's fascinating here is how this romantic longing gets elevated into something distinctly spiritual. The author packs in all this heavy existential vocabulary, words like heavens, faith, Christ, praying for peace, and soul. They just weave it seamlessly into all these romantic declarations. The tone totally shifts. It evolves from your standard love song into a literal hymn. The language of romance and the language of religion become practically indistinguishable from one another. You can see this crystal clear in this one striking line, "I have faith that I love you and believe in Christ." Think about that for a second. By placing their faith and their love for Zena on the exact same level as their religious belief, the narrator is treating their romantic feelings with the ultimate spiritual reverence. Loving Zena isn't just a crush, it's a profound act of faith. It requires the exact same level of unquestioning belief as their religion. Now, let's look at the existential shift happening here, what we can call the time traveler's soul. As we move deeper, the narrator's whole perception of reality starts to warp. So far, we know a couple of things about the voice behind the song. We know they're a musician, recording their tunes. We know they're a person of faith, praying for peace. But right in the middle of the text, they drop this stunning, totally surreal bombshell about their true identity. They literally self-identify with these words. I'm the time traveler, forgotten about the world, because they are so immersed in her image and her beautiful soul. Normal life has just ceased to exist. Love has completely distorted their sense of time and space. They've forgotten the world around them because their entire universe has shrunk down to just Zena. They are unstuck in time, living 100% in the emotional bubble of their devotion. This absolutely transforms our earthbound musician into an existential voyager. Listen to how their perspective shifts. Think of love when I see the cosmos. The infinite, mind-boggling expanse of the universe doesn't mean science or exploration to them anymore. It's literally just a reminder of their love. The cosmos is just Zena's backdrop. When they look up at the night sky, they don't see stars and planets. They see the domain of the woman they love. Kind of romantic, kind of intense, right? Which brings us to the chorus of devotion and the sheer power of repetition. To really grasp the narrator's state of mind by the end, we have to talk about the structural elephant in the room. The text leans unbelievably heavily into the literary device of repetition. And look, repetition isn't just about padding out a word count. It's a tool. It creates this rhythmic, hypnotic cadence that mirrors a desperate, unending plea. It's like the beating of a heart or the endless ticking of a clock for someone who is just waiting. Here's the wild part, the massive 7-line chorus where the narrator names Zena, describes her in the rocket, and begs her to accept their love, is repeated exactly 4 consecutive times to close out the text. 4 times, in a row. No break, no variation. It is an absolute wall of text, just a relentless barrage of devotion. When you break down the numbers, it's pretty staggering. Nearly half of the entire poem, 28 lines out of 59, is dedicated exclusively to this one repetitive plea. Seeing it visualized like this really hammers home how overwhelming this obsession has become. The unique verses about recording songs and time travel, they just slowly get swallowed up by this singular, looping demand for connection. The narrator is entirely consumed. Because of this repetition, our time traveler is essentially stuck in a glitch, a timeless loop. Every single time they repeat, waiting for you to accept my love, my heart, they are frozen in that exact moment of anticipation. They're endlessly waiting for the astronaut of America to return this profound affection, caught up in a cycle of longing that honestly shows zero signs of ever resolving. This repetitive climax forces us to ask a really tough question. Is this beautiful or is it tragic? Does this relentless repetition signify hopeful patience, like a faithful artist confidently waiting for their astronaut to finally land? Or is it eternal heartbreak? Are they just trapped in an endless loop of unrequited longing, talking to a sky that is never, ever going to answer back? It leaves us with this profound thought to ponder today. When we tie our hearts to the stars, when we love someone who is always just completely out of reach, do we transcend time itself through the sheer power of our devotion? Or do we just end up like our narrator, a forgotten time traveler, waiting forever? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep looking up.